Yeah, so here we're going to start with the National Incidence Study, NIS. It's the largest collection of all types reporting data relating to abuse and maltreatment of children. Okay? 68% of maltreated children were maltreated by a female, whereas 48% were maltreated by a male. Some children were maltreated by both. Of children maltreated by biological parents, mothers maltreated the majority, 75%, where fathers maltreated a sizable majority, 43%. In contrast, male perpetrators were more common for children maltreated by non-biological parents or parents' partners, 64% or 75%. Safest place you can possibly be in the home is with your husband and with your children. That's for women, the safest place they can be. Any study that you pull up is going to be drawing from the NIS source. That's direct from the NIS itself. There's no refuting that. I've looked and looked and looked. It is definitely from partner incident violence. Women are the safest when they have a husband in the home.
I think for some women that is the case. I think there are good men out there, and I think that's a misconception that feminists don't believe in that there are good men, that we hate all men, which definitely isn't true. But I would like to say, like, because you're saying, psychology is an evolving field, there are different studies and different numbers. Male perpetrators are predominant, and while the exact percentage differs, it's generally estimated that between 75 and 90% of child sexual abuse is committed by men or male adolescents.
Nope. That's because it's not drawing from the correct data set, which would be the NIS.
But
and the reason they do that is
because to say which one is the correct data set?
Because they all draw from the NIS. All of them draw from this data set, the NIS. They have to. It's the most comprehensive source for reporting. So here's what happens. If you wanted to gather data, you're a psychologist.
Are you seriously explaining to me how it works to gather data?
No, I'm asking you a question.
Oh, okay.
If you wanted to gather data, right?
Yes.
If you want, especially on crimes, you would use law enforcement or the best source for reporting, right? In this case, self-reporting is going to be far less reliable than reports to the police, things like this, right?
Yes, understandable. So you're saying that this is the most comprehensive, therefore the most reliable source.
It's the most comprehensive source.
But where are you finding that it is the most comprehensive? Because you haven't mentioned a source that says it is, because I'm looking at it now.
The NIS?
That's not from the NIS. There's the national...
It's from the NIS. From the NIS.
There's the National Center for Victims of Crime in RAIN, which is the statistics that I just
RAIN
pulled
draws
up.
from the NIS.
Okay, so then how come it draws from the same source? And my conclusion is different than yours.
Because they changed the criteria for what is considered assault, and they changed the criteria. Like, I've seen it as bad as them saying that men cannot be essayed by women because it's non-penetrative.
I see. So you're saying that that would skew the numbers.
It does skew the numbers. So the results of the National Incident Study, NIS, the largest collection of all types of reported data related to abuse and maltreatment, 68% of maltreated children were maltreated by a female, 48% maltreated by a male. Mm-hmm. Women, when they're in positions of power over people who are weaker than them, actually abuse more than men do. So at the same time, while you say, well, women have to run this big gambit of threats from men because men are much stronger than women and have more propensity of violence, when women are in charge of people who are inferior in strength to them, their incidences of violence towards them are much higher than men's incidences of violence towards them.
It
sounds like women are the greater threat here than men.
Sure. If you want to say that, that's totally your prerogative, but that's not what the numbers say. So you can say, no, it's my turn to speak. You can say what you want about all the different statistics and how they come from a specific study, but the point is that there are different estimates, and basically every study conducted globally has found that the number of female victims is astronomically higher than male victims. Not to say male victims aren't important. If you are a male victim, especially if you haven't spoken up, I have seen the effects of having male sexual assault in my family, so please, talk to somebody. It is serious. But 1 in 6 boys have been sexually assaulted, and a lot of the time it is by male offenders.
Yeah,
so it is
but
serious.
What about the fact that when we're talking about rages of abuse of children, women are the ones who are most often in charge of children. The domestic rates, for instance, inside of a boys' home where the prison guards are all male, and it's a male, youth population versus female. If there's a females in charge of the youth population, the statistics for abuse skyrocket. Same thing inside of public schools.
Are you saying that women are more likely to be
women are more likely than men when it comes to the weaker sex. In this case, children. We would just say children are both sexes, right? But they're the weaker human than women. When they're in charge of children, they actually abuse them far more than what men abuse women at. And so it's like, so who's really the dangerous ones here?
Your 60 seconds begins. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
You're good.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Well, I would like to say that that is a claim that is a reasonable conclusion that you are drawing from the data that you are presenting. Unfortunately, that is not true, though. That the vast majority of sex offenders are male, and especially when there are still female offenders, and that is still bad. But the point is that there is significant male dominance, and that most sex offenders are male, and females do commit sex crimes, but they're often underrepresented as perpetrators. So you're correct. But
Hold on.
data you're reporting,
Hold on.
is it?
Do you want to continue?
yes, please. And so
I'll give you your 60.
this is from the United States Commission Sentencing, which is just about sexual abuse offenders. And there's a whole pie chart here, about how many times they offend and who they offend and who they're under guidance for. And again, it is saying that the vast majority, up to 80% of the perpetrators,
10
are
seconds.
men.
Yeah,
So you can talk now.
So women, do you agree with me that I have to ask some questions here so I can figure some things out? I hope that you'll answer them. So do you agree with me that both men and women have the propensity to, in some way, essay the other partner, both of them?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's, no, yes, I agree. It is definitely possible
Okay.
for both sexes to do that.
The
yeah.
question becomes, if you switch criteria around, right, for what is considered sexual assault, let's just assume things like catcalling are put in the category.
That's harassment. But are you saying
let's say
hypothetically?
it's categorized,
Okay.
not as harassment, but as a form of sexual abuse. Would you
Okay.
say that would greatly skew the numbers?
If that were how it was classified, yes. Do you
Yeah.
have evidence that is how it is
I
classified?
do. In fact, there's a whole grouping of colleges in a study that I can show you where that was smuggled in as a form of sexual assault or SA or
Interesting.
sexual battery in some cases, right? They smuggle in, and so what they do is they decide that they want to make that data set wider. And so they just reclassify things which would not ordinarily be classified as sexual assault or sexual battery by just inserting those things. Now, the same exact thing happens here. Do you think that it's very masculine, for instance, inside of society, for men to go and report when a woman gives them unwanted touching?
No. And matter of fact, I do know male victims with female perpetrators.
And they have
yeah.
unwanted touching?
Yes.
So they're just far more likely to report it because of the social stigma, which happens to them often from women who tell them things like, I don't consider you a real man like you did to me earlier.
Oh, I didn't really say that, but...
You did. Your exact words were, a real man would X.
Oh, yeah, like real men like my dad who have the same political beliefs but don't talk to women the way you do.
Yeah, whatever that means.